Welcome to Filled with His Love. While I was watching the funeral for President Nelson, one theme came through loud and clear. He loved as the Savior loved. Everyone who talked about him mentioned how they felt his love for them. He loved people enough to learn their names, to express confidence in them, to uplift them. I was the recipient of his love on a number of occasions, and as I reflected on his life, that feeling of love brought an overwhelming feeling of gratitude. I was just so grateful that I had been privileged to feel his love. Gratitude in its highest form is a feeling of love received. Yes, we can be grateful for lots of things in life, but there is a unique power to the gratitude we feel when we feel God's love for us or the love that comes from another person. In the end, all pure love comes from God, whether we receive it through another person or directly through the Spirit from God. As I watched the funeral, I felt so grateful for President Nelson's life. That feeling of gratitude made me want to do something that I thought might be pleasing to him. I knew that he loved learning languages, and I also enjoy learning languages, so I thought I'd rehearse the standard of truth in Spanish. I had memorized it years ago when I was visiting Spanish-speaking countries, so I began practicing it again. I'd been able to share it only once since I started practicing with a young man from Mexico who recently returned from a mission in Colombia. And I don't know if I'll have a chance to share it again, but it felt good to relearn this powerful statement that the prophet Joseph wrote in the Wentworth letter so long ago after he quoted the Articles of Faith. In English, it goes, "The standard of truth has been erected. No unhallowed hand can stop the work from progressing. Persecutions may rage, mobs may combine, armies may assemble, calumny may defame, but the truth of God will go forth boldly, nobly, and independent, till it has penetrated every continent, visited every clime, swept every country, and sounded in every ear, till the purposes of God shall be accomplished, and the great Jehovah shall say, 'The work is done.'" It's always been such an impressive utterance for me, prophetic utterance, because it did foreshadow the spreading of the gospel throughout the world. Sometimes I remember when we were teaching in Hawaii, at BYU Hawaii, I would put this on the screen and I would say, well, has it penetrated? Has the gospel penetrated every continent? Sometimes people would hesitate a little bit, and I say, well, we have temples on every continent now. So yes, definitely. Has it visited every clime? That means every climatic region. Definitely it has. Has it swept every country? Maybe not quite. Has it sounded in every ear? Definitely not. So we've got a long ways to go. Gratitude is the awareness of love received. Let me just say that again. Gratitude is the awareness of love received. It's when we feel the love, when we recognize it. My feeling of the love I had received from President Nelson years ago caused me to feel gratitude, not only to President Nelson, but grateful to God. And that gratitude motivated me to do something. Love is the action of gratitude expressed. Let me say that again. Love is the action of gratitude expressed. I've never really thought about it like this before, but I like thinking about it this way. When Jesus asked Peter if he loved him, Peter said, "Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee." Then Jesus said, "Feed my lambs, feed my sheep." Love leads to gratitude, and the way we express gratitude is by doing something for the one who has shown love to us. In the podcast I did recently, when I shared my son's thoughts on charis, or grace, he emphasized how essential it is to give thanks for God's grace. And that act of giving thanks leads to actions. Like Peter, we feel the Savior's love, and because we feel it, we want to do what he wants us to do. I love the story of President Nelson. When President Nelson, he used to recount this story about President Kimball asking him personally to learn Mandarin Chinese. When Russell M. Nelson was a young heart surgeon and a relatively new general authority, President Spencer W. Kimball gave him a prophetic piece of advice. President Kimball, who often spoke about the gospel reaching all nations, said to President Nelson, "Brother Nelson, I feel impressed that you should learn Mandarin Chinese." Now think of that if somebody asked you to do that. I mean, that is not a simple task. President Nelson didn't hesitate, though. He began studying Mandarin right away. Even though his schedule was already filled with so many demanding tasks with the church and his surgery practice as a surgeon. I mean, he had so much going. If you ever read his biography, it's amazing he did it all. He later said he had no idea why President Kimball had urged him to learn Chinese, but he trusted that there was a reason. Now, years later, that reason became clear. While attending a medical conference in the United States, President Nelson met a distinguished Chinese surgeon named Dr. Wu Yingkai, who served as the director of the famous People's Hospital in Beijing. Because President Nelson could speak Mandarin, at least enough to communicate respectfully and warmly, a friendship blossomed between the two physicians. That friendship led to an invitation for President Nelson to visit China, where he eventually performed heart surgery on a famous opera singer there and trained Chinese surgeons in open-heart techniques. These early visits helped establish ties of trust and friendship between Chinese medical professionals and members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. After performing that heart surgery, President Nelson was given permission by the Chinese government, which was very unique at that time, to establish the first branch of the church in Beijing, China. That was in May, I believe, in the mid-1980s. Just weeks after that branch was created, my wife and I attended sacrament meeting in that tiny little branch because I was in Beijing doing a project for BYU and a foundation in New York City. There were only 6 of us in attendance at that meeting, but that branch may never have been formed unless President Nelson had accepted President Kimball's invitation to learn the Chinese language. There can be lots of lessons drawn from this story. You can look at it as a story of obedience. President Nelson obeyed prophetic counsel from President Kimball, but I just want to take a little bit different spin on it. President Nelson loved President Kimball. They'd had a long and close relationship. One way to look at this story is that President Nelson loved President Kimball so much that he wanted to show his gratitude for that love by learning Chinese. President Kimball might have said, "If ye love me, feed my sheep, and the sheep I want you to feed speak Chinese. So learn Chinese so you can feed them." Gratitude is the awareness of love received. Love is the action of gratitude expressed. All of this leads to my conclusion that the more we feel love from God or from someone else, the more gratitude grows in our heart. And the more gratitude we feel, the more we want to act out of love to please the one who has shown love to us. This applies to parenting, to friendship, to all family relationships, and to our relationship with God. Love leads to gratitude, and gratitude motivates us to act out of reciprocal love. So, the overall message I want to convey is that we need to do all we can to ensure that those we love know how much we love them. That doesn't mean that we just communicate love by only telling them we love them. It means that our actions convey love to them, how well we listen to them, how much we value what they do and what they say, how much we express our faith in them, that they can do good and great things. So many ways to show love. But my hunch is that we can all do a little better in expressing love and showing love through our actions, so that the gratitude-love cycle accelerates in our lives and in the lives of those we love. So I hope this has been helpful, and we look forward to seeing you next time.